Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing a pentagon to square transition, so like so. We're going to be giving it a 5-inch pentagon. I'll show you guys down the video on how to do that. Transitioning it to a 6x6 square. And we're going to give it a 3-inch height. And by the time we get done, we'll be producing these patterns to make that. Alright, let's get to it. Okay, let's go ahead and start off by making a horizontal or vertical line so we can get our 6-inch or rather 5-inch diameter pentagon. So let's go ahead and do that. That'll be our midpoint. So that's going to be our midpoint right there. And half of 5 inches is 2.5. So we'll set our compass at 2.5 inches. And we're going to go ahead and make a 5-inch circle diameter. Alright, perfect. Now let's go ahead and get a horizontal line going. So let's go ahead and do some crisscrossing arcs. You're going to open this up to just a random size or opening on your compass. So you can do that. Okay, let's go ahead and get a horizontal line. Okay, perfect. Okay, so now what you're going to do is in the same, go ahead and put your compass back at your midpoint. In this case, 2.5 inches. So from the outside of the circle to the center of the circle. Then swing it over and strike an arc there. Do the same thing and strike an arc at the bottom. Okay. That is now going to reveal a point right here on that horizontal line. So line up your ruler to the top and bottom of those crisscross arcs. And then do a mark like so. Next step, put your sharp point on that mark. Open up your pencil point to the very top of your circle. And that should match pretty close to the bottom. So now what you're going to do is strike an arc right here. Like that. Now what you're going to do is put your sharp point on that mark. Open up your pen point to the very top of the circle again. We're going to lock it in place like so. Put your sharp point on the top now. Swing it down to the left. Strike an arc. Swing it down to the right. Strike an arc. Do the same thing. Put your sharp point on those previous arcs. Strike an arc on the bottom. Do the same thing on that arc there. Strike an arc there. And there are your 5 points for your pentagon. So let's get some lines going so we can get a shape. Okay, so there's your pentagon, and that's what I meant by 5 inches. So, yeah, as long as you follow these steps, depending on the diameter of pentagon you want, just go ahead and make that diameter, and then go ahead and follow these steps so you can make this pentagon. Okay, now let's go ahead and get the 6x6 square on the outside of this. So, we're going to set our compass at 3 inches. Because 6 inches divided by 2 or half of 6 is 3, so 1, 2, 3. So we'll set our compass at 3 inches. Put a sharp point here, and we're going to do some arcs on the top, bottom, left, and right. Same position. I'm going to go ahead and strike an arc on the top and the bottom. Same thing here. Top and bottom. Now I'm going to put it here in the middle and crisscross those previous arcs. So I apologize for this mess because I'm using a pen, so I can't exactly erase this, but hopefully you guys can see through it. Alright, so let's get a square going. By the way, just wanted to mention that this video was inspired by a viewer of mine by the name of Jonah Underhill. So I read their comment and they mentioned that they were doing a pentagon to square transition, and well, that inspired me, and I was like, you know what, I want to try that. That sounds like fun. It'd be interesting. So here I am showing this video. So thank you very much to Jonah Underhill. Okay, so now that we have that, now we have our 6x6 square. 6x6. Now let's go ahead and label this so we can get some points going. So if you can imagine, since this is an uneven shape, meaning that there's no equal points from this portion up or from this portion down, so this is going to require two different types of layouts. So we're going to label this half portion A, and this will be portion B. So from this line up will be B, and then from this side or this line down is going to be A. Alright, so now let's go ahead and label these points here. We're going to go ahead and label this point right here as 1. We're going to label this point here, right here, as 2, right there. We'll label this point here as 3, and then this one will be 4. Now I'm not going to label these because these are essentially the same thing as 1 and 2. So yeah, just bear with me. Okay, so now let's go ahead and transfer this information onto our true length triangle. So let's go ahead and get a true length triangle going first. So we're going to give it a 3-inch height. That's what we said we're going to do. So 3 inches on our true length triangle. So 1, 2, 3. So that's 3-inch height. Now we're going to go ahead and triangulate this information onto our true length triangle. So let's go ahead and first start off with the distances between points 1 and 2. So get your sharp point, your compass on 2, and then open it up to 1. And I think we can open it up just a little bit more. Like so. Put your sharp point right here where the vertical and horizontal lines meet on your true length triangle. Strike an arc. And you're going to call this 1 to 2. Okay? Now the next one, let's go ahead and get the distance from A to. So let's go ahead and put your sharp point on A, open it up to 2. I'm going to lock it in place like so. Put your sharp point on your true length triangle, strike an arc, and we're going to label this as A2. Okay, now let's go ahead and get the distance from A3. I'm going to lock it in place, transfer it over to your true length triangle, and this will be called A3. Okay, and then the last one, let's get the distance from A to 4. So let's triangulate that. Put sharp point on A and open up your pencil point on 4. We're going to lock it in place like so. Put sharp point on your true length triangle, strike an arc, and you're going to call this A4. Alright, so now that we have this information, now we can go ahead and use this onto our work area here so we can get the pattern going. Let's go ahead and do a 6-inch horizontal line so that we can establish our starting points A and A. So we're going to do a 6-inch horizontal line, and we're going to go 6 inches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this will be A and A. So what we have here are starting points A, just like what we have here, A. So that's where we're going to be starting right here. Okay, so now let's go ahead and begin. And let's start with trying to find A3 and A4. So it should be the same. So let's go and look for A3, which should be the same thing as A4. So let's look for A3, which is right here. A3. Put your compass on A3, sharp point. Open up your pencil point to your 3-inch height mark. We're going to lock it in place like so. Sharp point on A. And you know that A is going to be somewhere right around here. So go ahead and strike a random mark. Do the same thing on this side of A. And strike an arc somewhere here in the middle. Let's go ahead and do that one again so we can get a little bit closer. Okay, so now that we have A3, now let's go ahead and triangulate from A4, or from this A3. So A4 should be right here. Put your sharp point on A4. Open up your pen point to your 3-inch height mark. I'm going to lock it in place like so. Sharp point on A. Strike a random mark across from the opposite end. Do the same thing on this side and go this side. And now you found 3 or 4. So as you can see, that's about the same distance to that. So that is right here. Okay, so now that we have that, now let's go ahead and look for the distance from 3 to 2. So this point right there. So what you can do is use your compass to get the true length off of this drawing from 3 to 2. I'm going to lock it in place like so. And that should be the same thing as this one. See that? Okay, so put your sharp point now on 3. And we know that 2 is going to be somewhere around here. So go ahead and do a random mark. Like so. Do the same thing on 4. From 4, we know that 2 is going to be somewhere around here. So again, do the same thing. Do a random mark. Just like that. Okay, so now that we have that, now let's go ahead and get the distance from A2. So that's from here, A to 2. So we're going to triangulate from A to 2. So A2 is right here. Get your sharp point on A2. Open up your pen point to your 3-inch height mark. I'm going to lock it in place. Put sharp point on A. And crisscross that previous arc. Do the same thing on this side. That one didn't reach. So this is 2. Let's go ahead and do that one again. So we're going to get this to here. That should be the same as this to there. So we'll go here. And there it is. So now these two are right here. And then these 2 points are going to be right there. Okay, so now that we have that, let's go ahead and try to look for 1, which is going to be that point there. So what we're going to do first is, since we already got a 6-inch horizontal line, we want to get this half portion here, which is 6 inches or 3 inches. So we're just going to measure that with our compass, because that's our halfway point. put your sharp point on A, and then swing a random arc. Do the same thing on this side, and swing a random arc. Just like that. Okay, so now that we have that, now we want to go from 2 to 1. And that's the distance from 2 to 1. So our triangulation from 2 to 1 is right here, which is 1, 2, the same thing. So put your sharp point on 1, 2. Open it up to your 3-inch height mark. We're going to lock it in place like so. And you're going to start from 2. See, you're here. And now you're going to swing to 1, which is going to be this right here. So strike an arc like so. Do the same thing on this side. Swing it down, strike an arc, and now you found 1. And that's it. Alright, so let's get a shape going. Yeah, no, this is not a typical shape transition for HVAC or doing sheet metal for ductwork. But again, this was an interesting idea that the viewer mentioned. And so, yeah, this is pretty interesting. I like doing this stuff. All right, so there's that. So here's our pattern. And if everything was done correctly, hopefully this should match that. So let's go ahead and see. So yeah, pretty close. Okay, so that is this point, or this spot right here. So as you can see, this is the flat portion, which is right here. And so this takes this pattern, and then it goes over like so. And we'll do the same thing on this side. And it ends like that. Pretty cool, right? Okay, so now let's go ahead and finish off by doing this section B, which is going to be this point right here. So that's how we're going to be doing it. Alright, so let's go ahead and do the same thing. So we're going to go and start off by making, again, a horizontal 6-inch line for our starting points B and B. Okay, so let's go ahead and make a 6-inch horizontal line. One, two, three, four, five, 6. So this will be starting points B and B. So that's what we have here. So 6-inch, 6-inch. Alright, let's begin. So this one, we're going to go ahead and label these points. So this will be point 3, which is going to be here. And we're going to label this point as 4. 4. Damn, that's a bad 4. Okay, so 4 is right here. And 3 is going to be that point. Okay, so let's go ahead and get a triangle or true length triangle going, so that we can triangulate all this information. Okay, we said we're going to give it a 3-inch height. So 1, 2, 3. So that's 3 inches. Alright, now let's go ahead and get some triangulations going. So you want to get the distance from section B, the distance from 1 to 2. Because remember, we already went up to this point here. Now we want to go from here up. So let's get 1 to 2. Gonna lock it in place like so. Go ahead and put it on your true length triangle. and strike an arc. And you're going to call this 1 to 2. Okay, next let's get the distance from B3. B3. I'm going to do it like that. Go and transfer it on to your true length triangle. Strike an arc. We're going to call this B3. Okay. Next one, let's get the distance from B4. 4 to B. We're going to lock it in place. Hopefully you guys can see that. See that? B4. Put your sharp point on your true length triangle. Strike an arc. You're going to call this B4. Okay, and then the last one, let's get the distance from 1 to 3. We're going to need that. So there's 1 to 3. You see, guys, see that? Okay. Transfer it over to your true length triangle. And we're going to strike an arc. We're going to call this 1 to 3. I'm going to draw a line so that we know that that's what that's for. And then this one, the 1 to 2, is the one above it. Okay, so now we have that. Let's go ahead and begin and transfer this information onto our working area. So let's start off by looking for 4. B4. So B4 is right there. So let me go ahead and do some indentations on these points here so that I make sure that the pen falls on the exact spot. So let's look for B4. So B4 is right here. B4. We're going to lock it in place like so. Put your sharp point on B. And then swing it down. And we know 4 is going to be somewhere here in the middle. So go ahead and strike an arc. Do the same thing on this, B. And crisscross the previous arc. We're going to have to go back again because it didn't reach. And now you found 4. Okay, next, let's look for 3. From 4 to 3. So what we're going to do is use a drawing. And we're going to measure the true length from 4 to 3 on this drawing. Like so. Put your sharp point on 4. And we know 3 is going to be somewhere around here on the top. Or on the bottom rather. So we're going to do a random arc. Like so. Swing it over. Do the same thing. Do a random arc. Okay. Now let's go ahead and look for B3. So here's B, and we're going to look for 3. So B3 is right here. Put sharp point on 3. Open up your pinpoint to B3. Lock it in place like so. Put sharp point on B. Strike an arc right there. Crisscross that one. Do the same thing on this side of B. Crisscross that one, and now you found 3. Pretty cool, right? B3. Okay, the next step, what we want to do is, since we got 3, which is right here, now we want to try to look for 2. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go ahead and get the true length from this drawing from 3 to 2. We're going to lock it in place like so. Put sharp point on 3. And we know 2 is going to be somewhere over here. So go ahead and strike a random arc right above it. Do the same thing here on this side of 3. And we're going to look for 2, which is going to be somewhere down here. Okay. Okay. So the next step that we want to do is, since we already have this, let's go ahead and make the other half of this 6-inch, so this will be 3-inch. So we're going to put that here. So we're going to use our drawing, lock it in place like so, put it on B, and strike a random arc, some wings, half moon arcs on both sides of B. So hopefully you guys can see that. Okay, so now what we want to do is now look for 1 to 3. So we know that this is going to be 1, which is going to be this point, and we're going to start from 3. So let's go from 3 to 1. So here's 3 to 1. Sharp point on our 3-inch height mark. We're going to go to 3 to 1, or 1 to 3, which is going to be right there. And you're going to put your sharp point on 3, crisscross that arc, do the same thing here, crisscross that arc, and now you found 1. Okay, and then now what we want to do is go from 1 to 2. So here's 1, 2 is going to be somewhere around here, so 1 to 2 is going to be right there. So put our sharp point on our 3-inch height mark. We're going to put our pen point at 1 to 2. So just like so. Hopefully you guys can see that. Put sharp point on 1. Crisscross that arc. Same thing on this side. Crisscross that arc. And now you found 2. Alright, let's get some lines going so we can get a shape. So hopefully you guys can see through this mess. So what happened was, I was doing this before with pencil and I kind of messed up. And I flipped this page over, or this piece of paper that you guys see. And unfortunately this side of the paper is a little bit more of a slick type of surface. So the pencil point or the pencil won't show up as much. But the pens will, but unfortunately on a pen I can't really erase all this mess. So if you guys see that it's too many lines, then let me know. I can redo this again. Alright, so there it is. So that is the pattern. So hopefully if everything was done correctly, this should match this. So let's see. So there it is, pretty close, right? So that goes right here. Bends over like so. And finishes it off like so. And the same thing on this side. And there it is. So yeah, that is how you do a pentagon to square transition. So that is pretty much it for this video. Thank you very much for putting up with all this mess. Hopefully you guys got value out of it, and if you did, go ahead and share with a friend or coworker, and let's get them to start doing these things. And that, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.